Today we're going to expose some truths about Greenville, South Carolina that people are afraid to talk about. We're going to talk about the stereotypes about living in the area, the myths about upstate South Carolina, and give you a better feel for if you and your family would really fit in here. So if you're considering moving to the area, make sure you stick around to the end of this video. It'll really help you out. Or you can just roll the dice with your family's livelihood. I mean, your choice. I'm Ronaldo the Realtor. Let's get into it. So we're gonna start off with a hot one right out of the gate. A lot of people watch my videos, call me with questions. Hello, it's Ronaldo. And there's one question that I get from the brave few. They ask me, Ronaldo, is South Carolina racist? And I think that's a completely valid question, especially because South Carolina doesn't have the best history when it comes to equality. So I can't speak for South Carolina as a whole, and obviously I can't speak for every single person in South Carolina. So I'll just tell you my story, because if you haven't noticed, I'm Black. And my wife and kids are Hispanic and mixed, and we've got a kid in high school, a kid in middle school, a kid in elementary school. I've talked to thousands of people in the 5 years that I've been here. We've been all over the upstate, and total, we've had no issues. So does that mean that we're just the luckiest people on earth? Or is this place really a melting pot? I think people are moving here from all over, bringing their ideas from all over. And Greenville has really become one of those places in South Carolina where you feel like you can be yourself. When it comes to jobs, healthcare, schools, my family and I, we've never had a negative experience that made us stop and think, are they racist? So overall, the Greenville area is pretty diverse, but just like most states, you have those areas where it's more or less diverse. So as you're driving through here, you'll pass some signs that show that some people may not think the way that you do. When my wife and I were looking at cities, trying to figure out where to relocate, I mean, we've got small children, of course, safety and opportunities were at the top of our list. And we haven't second guessed being here since the moment we decided to call this place home. And again, just because I and my family haven't experienced any issues doesn't mean that other people aren't. So I don't want to act like it's a broad brush for everybody's story. But just know if we felt unsafe here or felt like we lacked opportunities here, we'll be on the first plane out of here. The next big stereotype is that South Carolina is just overwhelmingly religious and particularly Christian. And for that, I'll say, you definitely notice that you're in the Bible Belt. And when I lived in Michigan, it was a different feeling. Up there, people would ask if you go to church, whereas down here, people ask what church you go to. The thing about it here is that people aren't pushy about it. So if you're not a religious person, people might still ask you to go to church, but they're not gonna drag you in by your ear. And it's not just Christian here. I've seen places of worship for all different cultures. And because Greenville is becoming more and more of a melting pot every single day, it shouldn't be too hard for you to find your crowd. Or if you just wanna stay out of the crowd, you can do that too. Okay, so another big stereotype about South Carolina is that there's just so much Southern hospitality. And although we get people moving in from all these mean states, I would say yes, there's still a lot of Southern hospitality here. When we first moved here, we had a neighbor who gave us chairs because our moving truck was late and we didn't have any furniture. So they just brought over chairs, we didn't even ask. That's hospitality. In Detroit, nobody would bring me chairs. In fact, the opposite happened. They stole my furnace. And let me tell you, come here. When somebody takes your furnace, it changes you. Another example is when we first moved here and we didn't know anybody, we had a neighbor come to our door, welcome us to the neighborhood with freshly baked cupcakes. When I moved from Michigan to Texas, guess who brought me cupcakes? Nobody. So yeah, if that's not Southern hospitality, I don't know what is. And Emily, if you're watching this, We need another batch. But generally speaking, yes, I do think there's still a lot of Southern hospitality here. So if you're considering moving here from out of state, just make sure you leave everything that's wrong with your state back home. Stay nice when you're here, and we'll be friends.
A felon, a captain, and a jackalope.
Oh, a jackalope.
There you go.
Sound like a jackfruit mixed with a cantaloupe. Oh, my butt! I'm too heavy. Yeah. Now, growing up in Michigan, we always heard that South Carolina was full of uneducated people who were just, you know, country bumpkin hillbillies sitting on the front porch in their rocking chair, shotgun in one hand, barbecue in the other, sipping on nothing but sweet tea. Now, we love our sweet tea, but the rest of that is pretty offensive. Now, as far as education goes, the upstate of South Carolina has been pretty impressive in my eyes. I mean, we've got highly rated magnet schools, charter schools, private schools. We've got a highly rated boarding school. And overall, Greenville County is impressive to me because you have the ability for school choice. So if you don't like the school that your kid's in, you can always change to a different one in the county. And in neighboring counties like Anderson County, the majority of the schools there are highly rated. And personally speaking, my daughters are more excited about school than they've ever been. And I think a big part of that is because of all the learning they get to do outside of the classroom. In Texas, they dreaded going to school every day, and they've never really had any engaging field trips. But here, they've been to 5 different states and a number of different cities and museums within South Carolina. And in the classroom, they're learning everything that kids their age should be learning, which can't be said about all school districts around the country. So of course, do your own research, but personally speaking, as a parent of 3 girls in school, I'm happy with the schools here. All right, so another myth that I'm gonna bust right now is that South Carolina is always so hot and humid. So summertime is really just July and August that are really hot and a lot of times uncomfortable. But late summer, early summer, thumbs up. As far as humidity goes, yes, it gets humid here, but it's not like Louisiana or Florida or even the coast with Charleston and Myrtle Beach. So if you take a look at our humidity, it might be pretty similar to the state you're moving from. And the rest of the year, we have all 4 seasons, with winter being the shortest season. That's something I appreciate. And a lot of people think, oh, I'm moving to South Carolina, so I'll just leave my coat in my home state. No, bring your coat. Right now, it's 45 degrees, and I should have a jacket on, but I'm trying to look cute for this video. So make sure you bring your coat. It still gets cold here in Greenville. Speaking of seasons, right now it's football season, and another stereotype is that everybody goes crazy in the South for college football. And to that I say, doesn't everybody go crazy all over the country for college football? So when I lived in Michigan, we had all the professional sport teams in Detroit. We had the Red Wings, we had the Pistons, the Lions, the Tigers. But even then, people still went absolutely crazy when Michigan played Michigan State or Michigan played Ohio State. And same thing for Texas. When I was in Texas, it seemed like the Dallas Cowboys was everybody's team after their college team. And honestly, where I lived in Midland and Odessa, even high school football was enormous. And for here in South Carolina, the football scene is still big, but it's not as aggressive as it is in those other states I used to live in. So I don't see people like taking each other's heads off on game day, but Clemson Tigers have a huge presence here. Even USC, the Gamecocks, have a huge presence here. So life hack is, if you want instant family, just pick one of those 2 colors. Another thing you'll hear about all the time is how bad the traffic is here. So we decided to do an experiment. We wanted to wait till 5:30, which is the busiest time, and go to Woodruff Road and do the busiest 5 miles down the road and see how long it takes us. That way you can see if that's unbearable traffic or not. So it's getting dark, but let's go. All right, here we are on the busiest section of the most congested road. Let's see how long it takes to drive 5 miles on Woodruff Road. And I will do the speed limit. Has rooms to go, Target, Lazy Boy, Mochi Dough, Bad Daddy's Burger Bar. Buffalo Wild Wings. Fun fact about that Buffalo Wild Wings, I'm the first person in Greenville to complete the Blazing Challenge, where you eat a certain amount of blazing hot wings in a certain amount of time. I don't remember, it was like 5 years ago, but I don't recommend it. And all they gave me was a headband. I don't even get a t-shirt. I don't get a picture on a wall or anything. A Buffalo Wild Wings headband. All right, so we're 2 miles down. It's been 7 minutes so far. Yeah. So, 18 minutes in, we are just now crossing over the 5 mile mark. Woohoo, we did it. So, 5 miles on Woodruff Road from 5:30 to whenever it is. It takes you 18 minutes. Is that bad traffic? I don't know. It's a little underwhelming. I was hoping for a much longer ride. I was gonna pack, snacks and just really just camp out here, but yeah, I'm a little disappointed. But you let me know how you feel. I would love to hear how long it takes to drive 5 miles on the busiest road wherever you live. So if this video helped you out at all and you're thinking about moving to the area, make sure you reach out to me. Got the link in the description to schedule a call. For everybody else, just like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.